Tonight, new hope for a Humboldt Bronco. Inside a Thailand hospital with Ryan Streshnitsky. Hear his family's reaction after an experimental surgery.
Well, I was just thinking, what's next?
A young victim talks about the devastating impact of identity theft. An Ontario jury sends $1 million message to rooming house owners. And voicing Western Canadian anger.
In our province, a carbon tax is not effective.
Rosemary speaks with Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe, and we hear from people on the street. This is The National. Hope burns bright tonight for 20-year-old Ryan Streshnitsky. Exactly 19 months ago, the Humboldt Bronco's bus crash left him paralyzed from the chest down. And we've brought you his story every step of the way. The heartbreak at missing the funerals of friends and hockey teammates, his grueling physical therapy to reach his new potential, and his triumphant return to the ice as a sledge hockey player. Then, last week, we told you Ryan and his dad were headed for Thailand for surgery. Well, Carolyn Dunn gives us a first glimpse of what could be a life-changing outcome.
Just one day after surgery, and this.
He almost did both at the one time.
Ryan Streshnitsky's paralyzed leg is moving, the result of an implant that sends electrical currents down his spine. Back in Airdrie, Alberta, Ryan's mom, Michelle, is watching that video yet again.
Just to see that smile on his face, that was genuine, and he was as surprised as the rest of us, I think. This is proof that you can't give up faith. You can't give up hope.
Something good might be around the corner.
Yeah.
The best case scenario is that he'll have some significant recovery and functional movements where then they'll last for the rest of his life.
Aaron Phillips has been studying the epidural implant procedure for almost a decade.
I think the worst case scenario is that he maintains this obvious restoration of some movement below his limbs that you're seeing today.
The device sends electrical signals down pathways that are preserved but dormant. Awakening those pathways can help with movement, but also improve bladder, bowel, and heart functions. And Ryan, who is paralyzed from the chest down, hopes it will give him some core control to improve his para-hockey game. Dr. Richie Gill is a paraplegic who had 2 devices implanted in Thailand. It was his improved movement that inspired Ryan to travel the same path.
It's a really positive experience when you start seeing the small movements and start the process of mapping, which is really programming the device to allow you to be able to do some of those movements within your legs.
Ryan has 5 weeks of nearly full-time physio ahead of him in Bangkok.
I just dare him to do whatever he wants to do.
It's a pretty safe bet that Ryan Streshnitsky will take that dare. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Airdrie, Alberta.
2 stories now that show just how vulnerable to theft your identity and your money can be. Scammers have extracted millions of dollars from Canadians in recent years, and their tactics have become increasingly sophisticated. First up, John Lancaster with an alleged victim of identity theft who sees no end to her troubles.
Sunny.
A long walk in the park isn't much relief for 24-year-old Natalia Bozic. As a victim of identity theft, her life has been turned upside down. She first noticed something wrong when money disappeared from her RBC bank account.
They investigated it, and they put my account on freeze. Like, nobody can use it, nobody can put money in, nobody could take money out.
Or so she thought. 2 days later, a woman walked into this RBC branch in Toronto and allegedly produced a fake driver's license in Bozic's name. The teller gave the woman a debit card for Bozic's account, and more money was stolen. Bozic believes the bank may have also provided the imposter with her social insurance number because in the next 5 days, her life got even worse. More than 20 applications were made in Bozic's name for credit cards, bank loans, even car loans.
I got a congratulations letter in the mail saying that I bought a Range Rover. Well, I was just thinking, what's next?
Next came a few days later when police north of Toronto arrested 26-year-old Deborah Ogun Toyinbo. They allege she had just tried to lease a sparkling new condo in Markham, Ontario, using a forged check and a forged driver's license, all in Bozich's name. CBC News has learned Ogun Toyinbo was accused by 4 Toronto area police services of stealing at least 20 identities.
She definitely would be considered a professional fraudster, knows what she's doing, and quite prolific.
Police allege Ogun Toyinbo has racked up big bills and created even bigger problems.
They have my SIN number for life, they have my driver's license for life, they have all that stuff to keep it going, and it can happen to me again next month, it can happen to me next year, it can happen to me when I'm retired, like it can happen at any point, and then there's more stress to come.
And we have John joining us here in studio. Can you tell us what RBC's response has been?
Sure. Well, RBC has refunded several $1,000s that went missing from her account, but they have declined her request to provide her with ongoing credit protection. The bank says that she should bear some responsibility here, Andrew. They say that perhaps her mobile device was compromised first. That's something, though, that Bozich rejects.
And what more can you tell us about the suspect in this case? Because she is in custody.
She is. She's behind bars awaiting trial in 4 separate GTA police jurisdictions. One more thing, though, that has angered some of the victims is that she's been convicted of these types of crimes before, but never been sentenced to more than 90 days in jail.
Wow. Okay, John, thanks very much. Okay, this next story puts a new twist on an old phone scam. Thieves looking not for your identity, but to get you to hand over your money. Now, it still works because they're adding more layers to fool you, using multiple official-looking numbers to back up the lies. Evan Dyer shows us how it works.
Your social insurance number is under suspension.
This is how it often starts.
Initially, the Canada Revenue Agency representative just told me that there were over $3 million in fraudulent charges associated with my social insurance number, and that over 25 credit cards have been taken out in my name. When I spoke to the second individual from the Vancouver Police Department, they gave me more details as to this high-profile criminal investigation.
Then you get the call, it's your local police phone number on the call display, and you want to believe it because it's all set up, right?
And the person just said, look at the phone number I'm phoning you from, and I checked, and it was the Vancouver Police Department.
That helped blind Andrea Van Noord to the fact she was falling for a scam. The supposed detective told Van Noord her accounts would be frozen, but that she could protect the money if she acted immediately.
And to deposit that money into what they called a government-safe wallet, which was a Bitcoin machine.
Over $6,000 went into the ATM.
I am, as a point of fact, an educated person, and with who's logical and reasonable and very responsible with their money, and I still fell prey to this.
It's no longer just the Canada Revenue Agency scam. A dozen government agencies are now being spoofed, and experts say call display has effectively become useless. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
Okay, so with this particular scam, you need to know that government agencies will never phone you to demand payments or personal information, so just hang up. And here's what to do if you suspect you've been a victim of fraud. You can contact your creditors and your financial institutions, and you can sign up with a credit reporting agency like Equifax or TransUnion. If the fraud involves your social insurance number, you'll need to contact Service Canada, and you should also file a report with the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. That could go a long way in protecting others. Okay, Conservative MPs were back in Ottawa today for their first caucus meeting since last month's election. It was a chance for members to assess that result and to prepare to sit as the official opposition in a minority parliament. And Rosie, there have been whispers that the party's leader, Andrew Scheer, should step down.
Yeah, we've certainly heard that, Andrew, though the calls have mostly been from sources who don't want to say it in front of cameras, not publicly. And tonight, Conservative MPs are choosing to stand by their leader for now. But that doesn't mean, of course, that the challenges for the party are over. Hannah Thibodeau brings us the mood on the first, and as it turns out, very long day back on Parliament Hill.
After a caucus meeting that lasted about 7 hours, Conservative leader Andrew Scheer emerged, his job safe for now.
Well, we won more seats, won the most votes, and elected the largest official opposition in Canadian history. Much more was expected. And nobody is more disappointed in the results than me. And nobody is more eager to get it right the next time.
MPs declined to give themselves the power to remove him.
I would say I support Andrew Scheer. We need to ensure that now is not the time for a leadership race.
A source inside the room says the vote wasn't even close, but that Scheer acknowledged mistakes and that everything will now be scrutinized, including the jobs of top staffers.
We had a very frank discussion about the importance of making sure that our message gets out clearly, our message of inclusion, our message of respect for all Canadians, regardless of their race, religion, and sexual orientation.
Behind the scenes, they say there's still work to be done on issues like same-sex marriage and climate change.
During the campaign at the doors, a lot of my constituents expressed concern about the leader. They continue to express concern in communication with my office, and so I'm glad to see that he said he's going to go do a listening tour across the country, and we'll see what happens.
What do they want? That task will be up to prominent former Conservative cabinet minister John Baird. A Conservative source said that made MPs more confident. In the end, Scheer's leadership will be decided by thousands of members when the party holds a leadership review in April. Hannah Thibodeau, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Liberals also face unity challenges, but those aren't inside their party, but with the western part of this country. Today, we learned Manitoba Premier Brian Pallister will have his first face-to-face with the Prime Minister since the election.
And the concerns that people have in Alberta and Saskatchewan and elsewhere can't be ignored. They need to be addressed. And the Prime Minister has said so following the election, but deeds matter more than words.
Pallister will be the first to meet with Justin Trudeau. That'll happen on Friday. But Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe says he's working on setting up a meeting of his own. I spoke with Premier Moe today about some of those very real feelings of alienation. That's part of our extended look at Western Canada. That's coming up in about 15 minutes. For now, back to Andrew in Toronto.
Well, we now have a date for when public hearings will begin in Donald Trump's impeachment inquiry, November 13th. That's just 7 days away. Here's Paul Hunter now with what we'll hear then and what new details we learned today.
From Capitol Hill and for Americans everywhere, it's going to be absolute must-watch TV.
We will begin our open hearings in the impeachment inquiry next week.
Open hearings in the inquiry that could lead to the impeachment of Donald Trump, live and on camera. Witnesses who until now have testified behind closed doors, starting 1 week from today for everyone to watch, evaluate, and, as Democrats frame it,
but also to learn firsthand about the facts of the president's misconduct.
On day one, William Taylor, the top U.S. diplomat in Ukraine, maybe the most significant witness of all, who, like others, has already testified privately. Today, a transcript of his evidence from 2 weeks ago was made public, all 324 pages of it. Taylor says it was his, quote, clear understanding that unless Ukraine took steps that could hurt Trump rival Joe Biden, Trump would withhold U.S. military aid to Ukraine. That's at the heart of the case against Trump, that he abused the power of the presidency for his personal political gain. In the now infamous phone call between Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky in July, Trump seems to press Zelensky to investigate corruption at a Ukrainian energy company that had Biden's son Hunter on its board of directors. Testified Taylor, as I understood, the reason for investigating that company was to cast Vice President Biden in a bad light. But Republicans are still having none of it. They underline that Trump denies any wrongdoing, that Zelensky himself has said he felt no pressure, and that a White House summary of the phone call doesn't explicitly prove it. As Republican lawmaker Jim Jordan put it today,
I trust the call. I trust President Zelensky and President Trump.
In the White House, Trump himself now awaits next week's testimony. So too, elsewhere, voters. Paul Hunter, CBC News, Washington.
Back here at home now, and an update on a story we first told you about last month. It's about Alicia Lemaire, who lived in a basement apartment of an illegal Toronto rooming house. When the building caught fire, she did not get out in time. Her body was covered in burns, and she died days later. Her parents sued the landlord, and today a jury handed down a verdict. Katie Nicholson picks up the story.
Bye, Mommy. I love you.
This is one of the last images Alicia Lemaire's parents have of their daughter, 6 years after losing her. Today, a victory in court on her behalf.
Hopefully this will be a deterrent for others
Illegal housing kills people, harms people, has to stop. It's not acceptable.
The house Alicia lived in had been illegally converted into a 7-unit rooming house with only one working smoke alarm in the entire building. Her apartment had one exit, no smoke detector, and bars on her bedroom window. The landlord, Konstantin Lysenko, ended up paying $75,000 in fines. But Lemaire's parents didn't think that went far enough and sued him. Today, this decision. We, the jury, find Konstantin Lysenko responsible for the death of Alicia Lemaire's. The jury awarded Lemaire's parents $1.3 million, including a much larger than usual amount for loss of care, guidance, and companionship.
Mr. Lysenko, if I could just chat with you a little bit about the judgment.
Lysenko didn't want to talk today, but during the trial, he said he attempted to be a good landlord, even though he also said he didn't know the house had to be up to fire code or licensed. As for the bars in the window of the basement suite, he said it was stupid. It was stupid for sure.
No landlord should put the health and safety of their tenants at risk. And I think this sends a very strong message that if you're going to rent a property for money, it better be safe.
But for the parents, the loss will never go away.
I'm lost without my daughter. I'll always miss her. I miss her dearly. I always will. I'm serving a life sentence with the loss of my daughter. Nobody would want to be Alicia. Nobody would want to be me. And going through this process is going to help that so other people hopefully don't have to suffer like we did.
Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
More news ahead on The National. Britain's election campaign is officially underway. How Boris Johnson is planning on using the latest vote to get Brexit done. And unpredictable and pretty much under the radar. BC health officials are looking into just how much alcohol is hiding in a bottle of kombucha.
Plus, Kevin O'Leary and his wife are being sued by the family of a woman killed in that deadly boat crash this summer. We'll have the story for you right after this. We're back in 2 minutes.
Just 3 months ago, Boris Johnson visited the Queen to become Britain's Prime Minister. Today, he went back to Buckingham Palace so Parliament could be dissolved.
I don't want an early election, and no one much wants to have an election in December, but we've got to the stage where we have no choice because our Parliament is paralysed.
So another British election is on, the third one in 6 years. And what's at stake? What else? Brexit. The CBC's Chris Brown went to Johnson's riding to see how this is all playing out there.
It's dark and miserable out. But as Britain's Brexit election begins, these Labour supporters believe a monumental upset is within their reach.
Boot him out of number 10! Boot him out of politics!
This is Prime Minister Boris Johnson's constituency. In 2017, he won here by 5,000 votes, a thin enough margin that Labour candidate 25-year-old Ali Malani believes he can stop both Brexit and Boris all at once.
If there's one single seat that can say they can change the future of the country, it's this one right here.
Unlike in Canada, where defeated party leaders can try to keep going by winning a by-election, there's no such precedent here. And Johnson may not be that concerned, with polls showing his party has an 11% lead.
Come with us, get Brexit done, and take this country forward. Or, and this is the alternative next year, spend the whole of 2020 in a horror show of yet more dither and delay.
Boris Johnson is counting on Brexit fatigue to send him back to number 10, that people are tired talking about it and they just want it done. In Johnson's constituency today, we definitely found fatigued voters.
We voted to get out, so I can't understand why we're not getting out.
I wouldn't trust any of them.
Jeremy Corbyn.
Labour's unpopular leader Jeremy Corbyn has promised another Brexit referendum with a choice of either a new deal or remaining in the EU, but the details are fuzzy.
But what they haven't said, which has led to confusion, is what side they would campaign on. Would Labour campaign for their deal, or would they campaign for us to stay in the European Union?
Let's just keep going until we hit the door.
At the constituency level, though, it's not going to be easy going. A lot of canvassing will be done at night in the rain, and we didn't see many people answering their doorbell.
It's late on a Tuesday, so most people are working on dinner.
All of which adds to the unpredictability of the vote.
Michael, what number did you need?
On December 12th.
Keep going.
Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Okay, let's get to Ian now in our Vancouver National Newsroom. He's watching developing stories for us.
And Andrew, we're going to begin in Ontario, where former Dragon's Den investor Kevin O'Leary and his wife Linda are facing a wrongful death lawsuit in connection to that fatal boat crash in August. The lawsuit claims negligence led to the death of 2 people this past summer after the O'Leary powerboat collided with another vessel. Relatives of an Ontario woman killed in the crash are seeking $2 million in damages. They also named the driver and owner of the second boat in their lawsuit. Police have charged Linda O'Leary with careless operation of a vessel. Ottawa Councillor Rick Shirelli made his first public appearance in almost 3 months today.
Councillor, do you have any comments today, Mr. Councillor, about the accusations?
13 women have spoken to the CBC describing inappropriate behavior from the councillor either at work or in job interviews. He's denied those allegations. A group of City Hall staffers held a silent protest during Shirelli's appearance, which ended speculation for now that the longtime councillor would vacate his seat. The city's Integrity Commissioner is investigating a number of formal complaints. Last night we told you about protests over changes to a student immigration program in Quebec. Well, today the province says it will reverse those changes, but only for people already in the program. Critics are still frustrated. They say the changes to the program are unfair. Protesters gathered outside an event tonight in Quebec City where the premier was. The program allows students a quicker path to permanent residence. We'll tell you what triggered a hijacking scare at one of the world's busiest airports today. One of the international stories we'll have for you in 20 minutes.
And more news ahead. Tonight on The National, pediatricians and parents have been calling for this for years. Soon, a big change is coming to your microwave. We explain ahead.
But first, we go in depth. What will it take to fix the frustration in Alberta and Saskatchewan?
The alienation is real and it's growing.
We'll hear from the West, the people and the premiers. That's right after this.
If the frustration and alienation in Alberta continues to mount, it will pose a very serious challenge to national unity.
He can support them by supporting a new deal that includes the canceling of the carbon tax.
It's insulting to us that we have to subsidize provinces that choose not to develop their own resources.
Let's face it, the discussion around separation is it is alive and happening in communities here in the province.
Hanging over much of the West right now, a cloud of anger and frustration, specifically over Alberta and Saskatchewan. Many there say they're hurting and Ottawa is not listening enough. Some are calling for separation, more for change. So what will it take to quell the anger? In the next few moments, we'll talk to Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe. We'll also hear from average Albertans about what's behind Western alienation, the issue that turned election night into a wake-up call.
I've heard your frustration, and I want to be there to support you.
The warning signs were there even before election night confirmed it. No Liberal MPs in either Alberta or Saskatchewan.
Know that you are an essential part of our great country.
A snub that Justin Trudeau had to address right away.
I will be reaching out to leaders across the country. We'll be reaching out specifically to Westerners to hear from them.
Think of it, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a prime minister for the last 10 years that Western Canada would never have if we had a choice.
But it's hardly the worst it's ever been in the West.
West wants in.
In fact, in the 1990s, Liberal majorities gave rise to the Reform Party and the Canadian Alliance, political movements born of a demand for better regional representation. This time, the frustration has two main sources: the Liberal carbon tax and its legislation changing the way energy projects are approved. Taken together, what's seen as a lack of support for the oil and gas sector. The Trans Mountain Pipeline, purchased and approved by the Liberal government, is simply not enough for those who feel under threat. And so Western alienation and even talk of separation is suddenly a topic of conversation yet again. Setting up this challenge for a Prime Minister: how to maintain unity in a minority parliament with no MPs from two key provinces. That term, Western alienation, can seem like a bit of a buzzword, but the sentiment is very real for many living in Alberta. Aaron Collins headed out to a couple of coffee shops today to talk problems and politics.
In Alberta these days, talk of the province's future in Canada goes round and round. Even over a cup of coffee, the West's frosty relations with Ottawa are hard to escape.
I think anger comes from fear. You know, there's people who have lost their jobs, and I do understand that, and I hear that, and haven't been able to find good replacement work for years now, and all the ripple effects that I'm seeing in our economy.
Kevin Cheney hears that anger and sees that pain. He doesn't feel it personally, and he wants politicians to focus on uniting Canadians, not dividing them. Mike McKillop hears a lot about Western alienation these days too, and the Ontario native says the rest of Canada needs to listen as well.
I think it's just a lot of people feeling their voices aren't being heard, and yeah, I think it's a lot of miscommunication from Ontario and Eastern Canada and what's going on in Alberta.
Like most here, leaving Canada isn't the answer for him, but for some in the West, all options are on the table.
To think that we've created this divide internally, it baffles me. But at the same time, the average Canadian voter is pushing Alberta into a place we don't really want to go, but we have no choice. And I can't tell you what's going to come out of it, but the alienation is real and it's growing.
South of Calgary in Turner Valley at the Chuckwagon Cafe, the coffee's a little bit stronger, and so too are the opinions. Gay Robinson and her husband just moved to Alberta from Saskatchewan, and for her, it's hard to see why either province would stay in Canada.
Well, I think it would take a big miracle for the West to want to stay in, and that would take the miracle of Trudeau and other parties dropping some of the issues that they have, which has garnered them votes, like the environmental issues and so on.
But even among Alberta's most alienated, like Barry Lee, there's a feeling that leaving Canada could be a step too far, for now at least.
Something needs to change. We can't keep going down the same path. And I believe that, what's the line is that coming together is the beginning, working together is progress, and staying together it will be success.
Well, Susan Green doesn't want to leave Canada either.
You have to take what we all feel and build it together. We got to stop being mean to each other with our thumbs. We are so quick to say some sharp things with our thumbs. But the minute ugly words come out, nobody listens anymore.
Back in Calgary, the talk of Western alienation, even separation, doesn't seem to be going anywhere anytime soon.
You can't have a beer with a buddy and have it not come up for the bulk of the conversation.
Aaron Collins, CBC News, Calgary.
A fire of frustration also seems to be burning right next door in Saskatchewan, and the Premier there has even called for a so-called New Deal between Ottawa and the Western provinces. Premier Scott Moe is here with us tonight from his office in Regina. Nice to see you, Premier. Appreciate you making the time.
Oh, thank you so much for you making the time.
Well, so part of this New Deal that you've put on the table, and you did that very quickly after the election, was to ask the Prime Minister for a meeting to discuss a number of things: changes to Canada's equalization program, getting resources to market, and the carbon tax. In your case, pausing the carbon tax for 1 year. Why are those issues so critical to your province in particular?
Well, these are policy directions that have been problematic for the growth of our province. And listen, they're not exclusively the only challenge we have. We have some natural resource challenges as well here in Saskatchewan. But we do have some opportunities, and I've always said we have some opportunities. For example, when it comes to addressing climate change, in our province, a carbon tax is not effective. Other provinces it may be, and we've always said provinces should be able to decide how they move forward on that. But we have always been open to engaging in the conversation of reducing our emissions, enhancing our sequestration opportunities, sharing that innovation with the world, addressing climate change, which is a global issue on a very global basis. And we've always been against a carbon tax, which is punitive to the industries that we have. It doesn't reduce emissions, it reduces jobs in our case. And we have always been open to that discussion with the federal government.
Well, so this pause on a federal carbon tax to as you say, to reevaluate how your province would deal with it. You know, the other thing the federal election showed us was that about 65% of Canadians voted for parties who support a carbon tax of some kind. Why should Saskatchewan not be part of what seems to be a national consensus on how to fight climate change?
The federal election was not a referendum on the carbon tax, and I would just put out that there's, by those same standards, almost 70% of Canadians that did not vote for this particular Prime Minister. So in this province, by those standards, we had about 2/3 of the people that voted against a carbon tax, and so these are the people that I represent. And what I wanted to do was put a deal, an opportunity in front of the Prime Minister that there are some opportunities for us to work through this. There's some opportunities for some give and take and for a new direction with respect to not only the relationship of Saskatchewan and Canada, but a new direction with respect to the policies that are impacting our industries. I hope the Prime Minister will sit down with myself and other premiers to discuss this. There was, as we said, a message sent from this province on election night, and I look forward to sitting down with the Prime Minister at the first opportunity to discuss not only the 3 items I put in, but others.
You said after the election in a statement that frustration and alienation in your province in Saskatchewan is, quote, now greater than it has been in my lifetime. You and I are about the same age. There's been a lot of Western alienation over our lifetime. It ended up in the creation of regional parties in that part of the country. Do you think that part of your job as Premier is to also help unify the country and to tamp down some of those feelings of Western alienation, or are you there to embody them?
No, for certain. First of all, I'm here to represent the people of the province of Saskatchewan and the industries and the jobs that we have here and what's important to Saskatchewan people. There is a feeling of frustration here in this province that, as we talked about the results of the federal election, I think put that on full display. However, we did see a very divisive election not just in Saskatchewan, but in other parts of this nation as well. There are divides that run pretty deep, and we know where they are in this nation. It is incumbent on all of us, the Prime Minister, the Premiers, to work together to find some common ground, not to legislate and implicate policies that you feel are ideologically correct, like a federally imposed carbon tax on people across this nation. Those are policies that create these divisions, and it's time for us to sit down and come to a better spot. And I've offered that to the Prime Minister with our new deal on behalf of the people of the province, and I truly hope that we'll be having that conversation sooner rather than later.
Okay, Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe in Saskatchewan's legislature in your office tonight. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Now, the Prime Minister has been reaching out to premiers. Tomorrow, he will meet with PEI's premier. On Friday, Manitoba's leader, and Scott Moe says he's getting close to getting his one-on-one time with the Prime Minister as well.
And still ahead on The National, 2 health and safety stories you will not want to miss. First up, keeping kids safe in the kitchen. You'll meet the doctor who spent years fighting for changes that are finally coming to your microwave. Plus, the surprising amount of alcohol that could be in your kombucha. We're back in 2 minutes. Okay, if you're anything like me and my family, you rely heavily on microwave ovens, especially useful when you have young kids. But as a number of people have found out the hard way, they're also potentially dangerous. Hundreds of kids in the U.S. are burned every year. And while to date, manufacturers have been slow to offer a fix, as Christine Birak explains, soon they won't have a choice.
2.5-year-old Zoe loves exploring in the kitchen, but there are hidden dangers well within her reach, including the microwave, which Zoe just pulled open.
I just never thought of it as something she would go into or be interested in.
Nor did pediatricians until some noticed a trend. In the U.S., about 700 children a year were being rushed to hospital with traumatic scalding burns from microwaves, many involving the same food, noodle soups.
He picked up the bowl and the juice just ran straight down to his chest.
The pain that I felt, it was like somebody throwing a torch at my chest.
Take some deep breaths.
Chicago-based pediatrician Kyron Quinlan proposed changes to manufacturers 15 years ago, hoping to make microwaves safer for kids.
I thought this was a quick fix. It seemed like it just made sense. It was clear how these cases were happening, and it seemed so simple to just do something different with the doors.
Child-proof them, much like push-down and turn caps on cleaning products and medications, which have saved countless children from accidental poisonings. But change wouldn't come easy.
Not very well received by the microwave makers, who, by the way, are on the voting standards technical panel. They regulate themselves, basically.
But manufacturers insisted parents should keep a closer eye on their kids. But Quinlan didn't give up, and he recently won his long fight. Beginning in 2023, microwave ovens in the U.S. and Canada must have two-step safety locks, which could be as simple as pushing 2 buttons at the same time, preventing kids from easily opening the door.
If I could turn back that moment in time, and we hear this 400 times a year from the parents that come in.
While microwave burns aren't specifically tracked in Canada, doctors see an average of 650 kitchen burns per year. They're welcoming child-resistant microwaves.
If you've ever held a screaming 2-year-old who's been scalded in their diaper or in their shirt, it sounds nice and easy, but to get that off, the skin is exposed for longer and their skin is thinner, and so they're more likely to have permanent scars and or need surgery.
The kitchen is full of fun but dangerous appliances.
Child safety experts say adding your own latches can help too. As most parents know, with kids, things can happen in an instant. Christine Burak, CBC News, Toronto.
Okay, Ian's next with a look at stories developing around the world tonight. Also ahead, why your bottle of kombucha could have more alcohol in it than your average beer. We're back in 2 minutes.
I'm Jamie Poisson, and tomorrow on CBC's Daily News podcast Front Burner, the U.S. presidential election is a year away, and although his approval rating is below 50% and there's an impeachment investigation underway, we'll talk about the path to Donald Trump's re-election. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to our national newsroom in Vancouver. A Canadian mining firm's convoy was attacked in the West African country of Burkina Faso, killing 37 people, and that number is expected to rise. It happened about 40 kilometers from a gold mine operated by Montreal-based Semafo. A bomb hit the lead vehicle in the convoy, and then gunmen opened fire. Global Affairs Canada says there are no reports of Canadians being involved. We still don't know the precise motive, but there has been Islamist violence in the region. You may have heard about a hijacking alert at one of Europe's busiest airports earlier today. Turns out it was a false alarm. Emergency crews raced to Amsterdam's Schiphol airport after a pilot triggered a hijacking alarm from the cockpit of the plane, which was on the ground. There was a lockdown and passengers and crew were evacuated. Planes were stranded at gates and parts of the airport had to be shut down. All of the passengers were fine. Operations are back to normal. But Dutch military police said an investigation is underway to try to figure out why that alarm was activated. And in London tonight, the roof came down, or at least a portion of it, on a performance of Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman. A BBC journalist was inside the Piccadilly Theatre and said there'd been a steady drip of water falling from the ceiling, even though it wasn't raining. About 20 minutes into the play, a section of plaster came crashing down on the audience. A few people were hurt, though none seriously. Everyone was told to get out, and there's no word yet on when performances will resume. Next on The National, the controversial return of a legend to the big screen.
You're tearing me apart!
James Dean died 64 years ago, but he'll appear in a new movie. We'll explain next.
Kombucha is all the rage. It's fizzy, fermented, and as it turns out, maybe a little too boozy. A first-of-its-kind research project in BC is finding it may have more alcohol in it than advertised. And as Tina Lovegreen explains, if you drink it without knowing that, it could spell trouble.
Inside this research lab, they're testing some of the trendiest health drinks in Canada. Almost 800 tubes delivered by health officials containing samples of kombucha, collected from grocery stores and farmers markets in BC. Their mission? To find out how much alcohol is in each one.
Because they're not supposed to have more than a certain amount of alcohol in them. The limit in Canada is 1%.
Alcohol is a natural byproduct of the fermented tea, which has been growing in popularity amongst Canadians. More brewers are popping up across the country. Some like the taste, while others believe it has probiotic benefits. It's sold, though, as a non-alcoholic beverage.
Yes, here we have a fermenting kombucha.
Brewing the stuff isn't pretty, and it's not always predictable. Its live ingredients can continue fermenting if it's not refrigerated properly, and that elevates alcohol levels.
If they leave the bottle outside for a day or for 2 days, it can start fermenting and can increase the alcohol level, so people should be careful and keep refrigerated at all times.
If there are trace amounts of alcohol, even low levels, I think it's important that those labels also be on the bottles for the consumer.
BC health officials are so concerned they're now the first in Canada to formally research it.
Low levels of alcohol can be a concern in women who are pregnant and are seeking to avoid alcohol to protect their babies and the baby's development. For small children.
In the U.S., more than a quarter of the kombucha tested was above the legal threshold. Some even as high as 7%. That's more than your average beer. But here in BC, we haven't seen the same results yet.
The message isn't that kombucha isn't safe, it's just that some kombucha has elevated ethanol levels, and that could be a public safety concern.
The results of the BC tests are expected this month, which could explain what kind of punch this drink could have. Tina Lovegreen, CBC News, Burnaby.
Okay, next on The National, our moment. Why a Nova Scotia man's legacy could live on in the Smithsonian. But first, in case you missed it, Hollywood gets a lot of flack over reboots, superheroes, and CGI.
You're tearing me apart!
Instead of finding the next genuine icon like James Dean. Yeah, about that. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the legendary actor is going back to work 64 years after his death. A full-body, computer-generated James Dean will be digitally grafted over a live actor for the action flick Finding Jack. The studio obtained the rights to Dean's image from his family, who are all for the idea. The internet, not so much. Twitter quickly lit up with condemnation, with many calling the idea greedy, cynical, ghoulish, and pointing out dead superstars don't exactly command the same sort of salaries. Now, as for how it might look, well, if the Carrie Fisher scene in Star Wars Rogue One is any indication, it could get interesting. Still, the studio says if it goes well, they may do more posthumous casting with the likes of Burt Reynolds and Christopher Reeve. It took a Nova Scotia man 10 years to build this model of the warship, USS San Jacinto. It's the ship George H.W. Bush served on in the Second World War. And this miniaturized version of it might be headed for display at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington. David Coldwell's son approached the museum after his father's death, and representatives have agreed to take a look at the model next month. Now, it's not the first model that Coldwell has had displayed in that museum, but it's a special one. And it's our moment.
I think it's probably his best model. He began model making as a child. During the war, I think the Army had maneuvers in the fields around this area, and I think the soldiers were awfully good to this little 4-year-old boy. He just loved World War II. Transport vehicles. This was a huge project, the aircraft carrier, the San Jacinto. He called the George Bush Museum in Texas and would ask if they were interested. And the answer was, do you have any idea how many Americans have built models of George Bush's ship? None of them could compare to David's, of course. I think he'd be really, really pleased that the San Jacinto's going to the Smithsonian.
The amount of dedication it would take to build that just blows my mind. I mentioned it took 10 years to build. Apparently it took 50 years just to get the plans. So imagine all the little details on that thing.
And the teeny tiny humans was the part that I like the most. His son calls it his masterpiece, his father's masterpiece, and his son does it too. So it's a family business, if you will.
So we sit here and we marvel at the tenacity that this takes, the dexterity, obviously, two traits that no one has ever used to describe me, ever. But you know, the other thing is the artistic ability as well. I don't know if you guys have been to, I think it's the Art Institute in Chicago, and they have the Thorne miniature homes.
Miniature rooms, so good.
Yeah, miniature rooms, that's right. This is an art form, and it's absolutely beautiful. And it was nice that we were able to share this moment on The National for Wednesday, November the 6th. Good night.
Good night.
Night.